Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name's Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine, and I'm the host for the Dean's Chat podcast. One of my goals in starting the Dean's Chat podcast was to bring interesting situations to light within our profession. And since I was the dean in Miami, and I've been the dean here at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine, I've always found it interesting how students, when they would come to the colleges, would leave as couples. And what I wanted to do today is introduce a couple that got together at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. They came to the school in 2018 and are 2022 graduates. Welcome to Dean's Chat, Dr. Wohldahl and Dr. Truby.
Right.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
You're welcome. It's great to have you. This may seem odd to you, but we go by first names here on Dean's Chat. We try to stay pretty informal. So Ryan and Laura and Jeff, let's go with that. Okay?
Oh, great.
All right.
All right. So you're both in Michigan right now in your residency programs. And congratulations, your second years. And you have had a lot of, not just the academics, but you've had a lot of life planning over the last few years. And I was hoping we could talk about that. Because I remember like it was yesterday interviewing you, Ryan, and Laura talking to you on the phone and interviewing you and welcoming you both to the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. And I'm always astounded at how fast time flies. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing with us how you met and were you studying and kind of what were the beginnings of your relationship?
Yeah, you want to start?
Yeah. So definitely it was biochemistry lab. We had a class in the first quarter where we were, sitting by each other. We just kind of by chance were swapping, notes and such and studying for biochemistry, and it kind of kindled from there. And then eventually, she would bring like candy with her. So she'd lure me with candy, I guess, is kind of how it started. Yeah. And then she quickly learned my favorite candy. And once that kind of developed, the courses went on, we ended up studying more together. I think it was more in the spring quarter where we started to really kind of hang out more. And especially as the AZ Pod, our class, we, after taking exams, would go to play basketball to kind of do like a de-stress after an exam. And Laura I remember her telling me, I never played basketball before. So she's like, it was fun to play because we got to know each other more through that, outside of the classroom. So that's when it kind of started to spark, if you will.
I don't want it to sound like the Newlywed Game, but is that how you remember it, Laura?
Yeah, I remember liking candy and liking basketball a little less.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely that lab was when we first had like our interaction together and like became aware of each other. And I remember Ryan coming in one day with like wearing this really cool leather jacket. I was like, that guy seems cool. That was one of my first impressions of him. But so the lab was like kind of what initiated it. And then like Ryan said, like as the year went on, as the whole class really became like closer together and started doing things, especially like the de-stress after testing. We do basketball. We did like some karaoke a few times. We'd go swimming and just all these social gatherings. We started hanging out more and more, and that was the spark of it.
Lots of hiking.
Yep, hiking.
So were you a couple before you announced it to everybody, or did everybody know?
I think everyone we knew about the same time.
Yeah.
And probably you did too. Like I remember going up to the pod office one day and the front lady gal was like, so you and Ryan are together? And I'm like, oh, that just happened like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And like everyone just kind of knew, because I think before we were even like, official, we were just like really inseparable. I think there was a connection there and people around us knew it and we knew it. And it was just like, okay, it's official one day, and everyone recognized it, and we did too.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great. Well, congratulations. I mean, rumors travel fast, and I remember hearing that you two were dating. I thought, that sounds like a fabulous couple. It's great. And so how about the rest of school? Let's talk about, you had a lot of planning to do, right? Because you decided you were going to get married. When did you get engaged?
So we got engaged, it would have been December of 2020. 2020, right 2020. Before like
the COVID thing,
or during happened. The COVID thing.
No, I think it was right before or was it? It was after.
Yeah, because COVID.
Sorry,
Yeah, okay.
2019.
Yeah, so about like a year-ish after COVID, I remember like after like the quarantine, like
That's
spending
right.
a lot of time together that
We're
way.
getting out of that. Yeah.
But yeah, we started dating the end of our first year. And then we decided to move in together, going into our second year, and we got engaged December of our second year.
Fantastic. Yeah. So obviously you travel a lot at the end of the third year and the fourth year. How did you guys plan your clerkships? And I know we talked about it a couple times during your academic years here. How'd that play out for you, and how'd the planning go?
So we definitely owe a lot of that to you.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, we picked your brain. We were like, Dr. Jensen, we want to travel together, and we want to also pick good programs and prepare ourselves. And I think at AZCPM, everyone's really good about being like, despite, at the end of your third year, you want to take those 2 clerkships and take 2 very good, like hard clerkships, that mold you so you can kind of springboard into your fourth year and look great all year. And so talking to you brought us to East Orlando and a Boston and then Beth Israel and Cambridge and St. Elizabeth. So we kind of started that way. It was a little bit different for us, I remember, right? Because we only pick our third years at first.
Yeah, we had a weird COVID schedule. It's unlike it now. Yeah. So you picked like a few clerkships, and then like 4 months later, you picked the rest of the year.
Yeah. And so we had to talk about it a lot, where we were like, okay, we picked 2. We picked one in Florida, East Orlando, and one in Boston. And I think we picked the Boston one because I'm from Sandwich, Mass, and Laura was like interested in it, and we've heard a lot about good programs there. And our goal was to pick programs where there are a lot of like good programs, so like, but also enough to kind of make it so we felt comfortable enough when it came to rank that we would have enough to where we wouldn't be,
enough good programs in the same area.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and not like get separated in a different state. So, and me and Laura, we talked a lot about, where do we want to go? And you brought up Michigan and Florida. And we kind of honed in on Michigan and Florida after our Boston. So we were in Boston in, I think, June. So we stayed or May and June. And I think we stayed in June. I went to Cambridge and she went to St. Elizabeth's. And it was good because they were pretty close to each other. And then after that, we kind of springboarded into Florida again and then Michigan. And we, like Laura said, picked, I think, pretty good spots to kind of figure out, as far as visits, as far as, good programs to kind of get us ready for interviews and ranking and finding a good residency. So
did the 2 of you ever rotate at one hospital together at the same month?
We did. There is a few months. I think the first one that the Orlando program, and then there's a Michigan one we did together, and there might have been a Boston one too.
Yeah,
there's definitely a couple together, and like the first like interaction you get with everyone when they realize you're a couple, they're like, oh, like you're both trying to come here together.
Right.
And they always like they either like that or they don't like that. So it's like no, not necessarily. Like it's more like a convenience, but maybe like we're open to it. But yeah, we definitely did do a few together.
Yeah. I think it was like 2 months we did together and then 3 programs total we did that were the same or something like that.
Right.
It must have been great in terms of academics, studying together, quizzing each other, saying, hey, I was asked this today. I didn't know the answer, but here, they'll ask you tomorrow. Here's the answer. It's things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you have this doctor likes to ask these questions in the OR and.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of that, those pimping questions, it prepares you. And bringing it to Laura, she'd be like, okay, now I know when I'm doing a case like that, they're going to be asking me these kinds of questions. And even to this day, we're still preparing for cases like that, where it's like, okay, but it's a little bit different because it's like we're doing the surgery and we're kind of like, how would I place the hardware and what order and like, what are my approaches and why do I like that way? So
half an hour ago, I'm working on an ankle fracture case I have this Friday. So I was running by Ryan like, hey, this is how I would do it. Like, what do you think of this plan? And he's like, oh, like that all sounds good, but like at my program, I see them do this part like this.
Right.
And like, interesting. Like those little things that you're always learning from each other when you understand the field. I don't know that we're both in.
As you get more deep into it. So it's
Yeah.
those early, like you're saying, the clerkships, those early kind of intermingling with you in trying to figure out like how do we approach different programs and questions. We still carry that with us to this day, and
Yeah.
be well the rest of our careers because we're lucky we have each other.
The whole's greater than the sum of its parts, right?
That's right.
All right, so let's go back to school. When it came time to rank programs, what was your philosophy? And I'm asking these questions not just to pry, but there's other people in your exact situation that you were in a few years ago right now. What should they be thinking about?
So I think the first important thing is to recognize and have that discussion of how important it is to, either match near each other or like in the same state. And maybe that's something that, wasn't really a concern in your relationship. You just want to be at the best program, possible, having that conversation to figure out, what do you value above other things? And, whatever you value is totally fine. Just knowing what that is in the relationship. For us, it was we want to live in the same household and commute 30, 45 minutes, something reasonable during our residency. So once we had that determined, we talked to you and it was like, okay, these are states with lots of programs, lots of good programs in a general area. Something else to consider is if are there a lot of programs and is there a podiatry school in that area? So like Chicago, for a random example, because they're near us, lots of programs, but there's also a school. So are there certain affiliations? Could be affiliations anywhere you go, really. Just connections you have. Yeah. And then just, finding a few places. For us, it was like Ryan said, Boston, the Orlando, Florida area, or Orlando and like Fort Lauderdale, Florida area. And then Metro and Central Michigan.
Yeah.
So those were our 3 areas that we just kind of focused on and picked 2 to 3 solid clerkships based off your recommendations and other people we knew.
Yeah, I think when it comes to ranking and, the time to pick residency and all that, we just came back from interviews. Like I went for CMU and Laura went for Genesis, and it's definitely different being on this side of things. But when I was being a student and trying to figure out what we prioritize, it was, obviously being together for us. But I think looking at a program, you want to be able to go to a program that you want to be at, and yet you'll be able to give your all. You want to, number 2, I think you got to get along with your co-residents. I think, you got to find what that culture is. I think that is very important. And also number 3, and it can't be understated enough, is your attendings and the leadership at the program. How comfortable do you feel that learning style, And I think that for both of us, we found what we needed, and it's different for everyone. And I tell everyone that comes through. It's you got to find what is good for you and what learning style you have, and kind of reflect on that and reflect on, as a student, like, was I happy during that month? Did I learn a lot? What are my goals for residency? So it's kind of how we,
it's juggling.
Yeah, it is. It's like
determining what's more important than the other, but also having a relationship be somewhere in that stack.
Yeah, it was pretty high for us, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I remember following it with you, and that those are stressful times leading up to the match. Did you have an indication where you were going, or did you have no idea? How'd that play out?
Yeah, I'm fortunate at my program. It's the norm that after interviews that we'll call the students and rank them 1 through whatever and be very transparent. So for me, that was a huge deal for them to say like, hey, you're number 1. That just, I love the program and all the things Ryan was talking about. I loved all those things about it, but also having that, that clarity and that like reciprocation of that we both like each other really helped that decision making. And I think that goes for a lot of the Michigan programs and a lot of the Midwest programs. It's just the culture, especially if you're upfront of it, like, hey, I'm in a relationship. Like, this is something I really value. Like, where do I stand with you? I think the area that we're at, and not just where we match, but other programs are pretty upfront, saying this is what we think of you, which helped decision making.
Yeah. And for me, I had you get good feedback after interviews. Like you feel really great if you did a pretty decent to great job. And you feel because these programs all go, oh, like great job, or they talk back and you're like, wow, I feel wanted at multiple places. How do I pick? And not all of them can be like Genesis or some other programs where they do let you know. Because there is that game that some programs will play and they'll be like, oh, we're ranking you highly. And that's always the phrase. But I think it was one of those, I felt really good about my month. I felt really good about my interview. And so I was pretty confident with my ranking in that aspect. And just even talking to the residents too, like, I didn't hear anything from, the director or anything, but it was just one of those, like, I feel pretty good and Laura felt pretty good. And it just kind of felt right for us in that moment. So it's hard. It's a hard game. It's a stressful season for everyone, but it all works out, I think.
Right. We were fortunate to feel pretty comfortable before match and interviews and knowing what was going to happen.
It must have been great though to solidify it and know for sure.
Oh yes. For sure.
No, that's fabulous. As you know, I'm good friends with Dr. Andy Cohen. He and I did our residency together, and I was confident that you guys would match. And I thought your choices of locations, geographical areas, was really well thought out, and I was confident it was going to work. But you're not for sure it's going to work until it works, right?
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, because we were looking for houses and everything. We were like, where are we going?
Yeah.
So let me go back a little bit then. So you matched together. Now you were engaged and you were planning your wedding. You took May as your vacation month, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And tell us about your wedding. Where'd you go?
So we went to Scotland, and everyone always asks, "Oh, are you Scottish?" And no, actually, what happened is Laura Googled. I think it was like weddings in Scotland, something simple like that. And she found a wedding planner and ended up the wedding planner being like really nice and like based in the US. And she splits half her time in the US and Scotland. And we were like, should we do that with COVID? Like the restrictions were kind of weird. We're like, I think we want to do it. And it ended up working out really well in terms of the wedding planner did so much and was so great and met with Laura and I mean, Laura did most of the planning with her. That's how it goes, I guess. But it really worked out really well. Like it was so simple. I mean, I could let her explain it, I guess.
Oh no, that's so good. I mean, it was somewhat inspired by Harry Potter and Outlander, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we were watching Outlander or something. But yeah, it was just a random Google search one day, and I clicked on like the first advertised wedding planner and be like, I wonder if they give me a quote. And this like nice lady got back to me in like hours and was like, let's Zoom like we are now. And it just like turned into this amazing wedding.
Yeah, really turned out great.
That's amazing. So, well, I remember just speaking for myself, I was so excited for both of you with the match. And then I remember following your wedding on Facebook. You were posting pictures and it was like a dream come true for you. I could tell for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it really was. It was so great. It worked out wonderfully.
So then you ended up buying a home in Michigan. Are you equidistant between the Ascension program and the Central Michigan program?
Just about. Yeah, I mean, she's like 25 minutes. I'm like 40. But for my program, like there's not much driving once you're in the city. Like everything's within 10 minutes. So it's really like I get up a little earlier. It's fine. That's what we do as residents.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Now, I also, didn't I see on social media you have a dog too? You picked up a dog?
We have 2 dogs. We have 2 dachshunds. 2 mini wiener dogs.
Yes.
Very good. All right.
So it's like literally first month of residency, we got a little puppy. And then 6 months later, we got another one. And we're like, oh gosh, we got stops. Because we can't. It's like they're our fur babies in this way because it's like we don't have family here to like kind of start a family, if you will. So we're kind of planning that down the road once we get to Arizona and get our feet set after residency, probably a couple of, I'd say like 3 to 4 or 5 years from now. Like, that's kind of what our goals are. But we have these dogs and they keep us busy.
Now, are you planning to come back to Arizona? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Definitely.
All right. Very good. So if you don't mind, let's spend a couple minutes talking about the residency programs.
Yeah.
Because, I know that there's going to be couples just like you that are going to be thinking, all right, let's go Florida, let's go Michigan, let's go Boston, let's go Los Angeles, all the different areas. Tell us about the Central Michigan program. How is it? It's a 3-year medicine and surgical program. How is it structured, Ryan?
Yeah. So, we take 2 residents a year. And in your first year, you do a lot of your didactic. So your emergency medicine and internal medicine. But half the year you're on podiatry, and you do, I think it's 14 weeks of call. But call is only when you're on service on podiatry. So when you're off service, you're kind of focused on that. And, so that's kind of your first year. We're lucky because we have physicians who are ready to teach, and they take the time to teach. So that's kind of what was selling me on, when I'm off service, is I'm kind of learning to the level of, their residents, and it kind of makes me more well-rounded. Into my second year, we focus more on getting your hands ready. And I know Dr. Cohen says this, but you keep your hands busy. It's we do orthopedics, we do plastic surgery. We do we have a wound care, and then we do all our podiatric medicine. And then third year we have electives, and we're pretty much on service the entire year, with I think the exception of a month on orthopedics. So it's I think we're on service a lot. We scrub a lot. We scrub a lot early. So it's been a great, I think, fit for me, because being a self-motivated person and wanting to do and learn as much as I can, I feel like I have the autonomy and a lot of that kind of, drive to scrub as much as I can, see as much as I can while I'm here. And I've also been able to scrub a lot with orthopedics, because there's no orthopedic residency. So we scrub a lot of any of the trauma that they get. We're the resident with them, and we learn a lot. It's a different way to learn, rather than just the podiatry approach, but the orthopedic approach to rear foot as well. So in that aspect, I think Central Michigan has been really great with the scrubbing and the academics. And I can't say enough about my, co-residents and my attendings that I also get to talk to every week with academics, and always learning, and will for the rest of my career. And I think it's a great springboard for me personally. So,
oh, that's great. Question for you regarding clerkships. How many students do you take per month at the Central Michigan program, and do you take from all the different schools?
Yeah, so we definitely take from all the different schools, and we encourage it. We get a lot of AZCPM, which is great. I love it. I mean, we had, I think, 5 or 6 this past year, and so it's really great. And I think we take 2 a month, but we can have as many visitors as will fit you in, so yeah.
Fantastic. So Laura, the Ascension Genesis program, can you give us an overview of the program and what it's like each year?
Yep. So Ascension Genesis is in Grand Blanc, Michigan, kind of like a suburb of like the Flint area, about maybe like 45 minutes from Detroit, maybe like an hour. But it's in a nice area of town. We also take 2 residents a year, as CMU does. We also take I think we can do 2 or maybe even 3 students a month, but it's usually 1 or 2 that we have at a time. And always having students visit. To touch on the points you just asked Ryan as well, we take, clerks from everywhere. Last year we had a resident from 6 different individual schools. There's a whole mix of us. Right now we have another AZCPM as a first year. We have DMU, we have Scholl, Kent's. We don't discriminate. We just take whoever, wants to come and has a good attitude and would be a good fit for our program. The program itself is pretty similar to the CMU as far as structure. So you do take call your first 2 years, 15 weeks your first year, 13 your second year, and then your backup call your third year. We do very similar off-service rotations that decrease as you go on through your years of training. Big benefits that I really like about my program, the first one being the culture. There's definitely like somewhere you walk in and you're like, wow, these people are like really nice, like abnormally nice. was like my first impression of all of them. They're just a really great group of people. They're all very supportive and very teaching, just very nurturing environments. With that, we do mostly single scrubbing. I think I've maybe had to seen 2 double scrubbed cases ever because it's something particularly interesting. We're really busy. We work with about 20 different attendings, all different teaching styles, but it's a very hands-on program. I'm very fortunate to be at it and very happy. So if anyone from Arizona wants to come, we'd love to have you.
Well, what I will do in the show notes is, if you don't mind, I'll put your emails in there so that
please,
when people watch the YouTube or listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, they'll have access to you. I know that people not only have questions about the program, but they're going to have questions about what it's like to go through this process as a couple. So that's incredible. So super proud of you guys. So next year's your 3rd year. Are you considering fellowship at all or not? Have you given that any thought?
No. So we knew pretty much from the get-go that we wanted to just skip the fellowship. We weren't really that much interested in it. Just get back into, practicing, and we are thinking of doing private practice eventually together, but kind of see how it goes. But we just want to get out there and kind of.
Yeah, knew pretty early on, Ryan said, we were just hoping to do private practice after residency. I definitely gave it more thought, in a residency than I did as a student, particularly at ACFAS and went to the fairs. Personally, I think we, at least, for both of our programs, there's likely, but for me, we're really busy a lot, get lots of hands-on training, and for the type of surgery I want to do and types of patients I'd like to see, I think I'll have a really good foothold to start.
Oh, that's great. And that's a neat plan to practice together down the road. That I can see that.
I know, right?
One day.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit, what do you two do in Michigan? When I was a resident in Michigan, we'd go up to Boyne Mountain skiing, and we'd be at the parks, and we'd be at the lakes. What do you do? What do you do to have fun when you're not working?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of what we do is trying to get. So our schedules don't always align. So when they do, it's okay, we can plan a date night or something around it. So a lot of it is actually driving into Detroit and going to a Broadway show, or going to, they got better food options down there. Go to a concert or something like that. We also really love during the spring or I should say summer and fall, just kind of driving around and visiting the different parts of Michigan. We went to Mackinac Island this past summer, and it was a blast. We actually went with one of an AZCPM student, Michael Scott, and it was so fun. And Nan was there too, and just stuff like that, And I want to get more with and I've been saying it since I've been here, but maybe as I get more time, I just want to do more of that out, like you're saying, go to the lakes, do the outdoor stuff. Right now it's tough with winter, but do the skiing. I would like to do that too. So
yeah.
That would be fun. So
we're going to try to plan this summer is to go to Niagara Falls, because it's only a 4-hour drive from where we live.
Right. So that's
kind of crazy. But yeah, and do Toronto and go to Canada. Would be fun.
Yeah.
But Michigan's a great state.
Oh, it's a fabulous state. I always had this vision of Detroit, right? It's a, auto worker, area. And what I didn't realize is that if you get out of Detroit, 10 or 15 miles, it's woods, and it's like being in northern Wisconsin where I grew up. So It's just so beautiful. I would have had no problem staying in Detroit. And it's a hotbed or the Michigan area. It's a hotbed for podiatry, no doubt.
It is, yeah. It's a wonderful state, and we really like it. So very fortunate that we found Michigan, and it helps. Michigan football is doing pretty great right now. So
yeah, you picked a good year to be there, didn't you?
I know. Everyone's really happy.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh wow, go Lions, go blue.
Yeah, well, blue delivered. I think the Lions, they played San Francisco this weekend. They got a chance. I think.
We'll see. Yeah. Even Laurel's watching the Lions game was like, hey, she saw some play. She's like, can they do that? And I was like, yeah, they scored on that play. But it's been fun. It's been cool talking to patients too. They're like, I've been a lifelong Lions fan, and seeing them, with success, they're just riding it. So I hope they continue. We'll see. They have a shot, like you said.
Very good. Very good. So let me ask you one more question, each of you. What would you tell a prospective pre-health student at a university, what would you tell them about podiatric medicine as a prospective career? Laura,
So
or either one.
Oh, no.
No, go for it.
No, I don't care who goes first. So podiatric medicine, I'd say, is a very diverse field. It's, you see a lot of different things, whether that's like muscular, neurovascular, like bones, fractures, bunions, combination of a lot of different things. And then you combine that with everything being immensely hands-on, whether it's in clinic or surgery, which I really like about it. So it's a great field. Great field if you want to have a family, if you want to, drive to Detroit for the weekend and get enjoy a little bit of life, especially in medicine, because all fields are like that. So right. It's a little bit of everything. And it's nice to be a specialist. And I lost my train of thought. So looking at Ryan, but no, it's a great field. There's a lot to offer and a lot to do with it.
Very good. Yeah. Ryan, you want to add any?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, especially with residency, and I think everyone will realize this too, is when you're off service, you're like, this is great learning all this stuff. When you go back to podiatry, you're like, oh, this is great to be in my wheelhouse, to be a specialist. It really is. I mean, you know a lot. We're good at what we do. And I think that if a lot of people knew about podiatry, whether they want to get to sports medicine, orthopedics, they don't necessarily know. And so if they, were to be more well aware that we do surgery, that we're very hands-on, that we're very busy, and that we do a lot of good work. And if they kind of delve into that a little bit more, they'd see everything that we do. And, podiatry is a great field, and I can't recommend it enough. I mean, it's been great to me. It's been great to Laura, and I think it'd be great to so many different people. So.
Well said. I think one of the reasons when students go and they shadow podiatrists, the reason they say the podiatrists are happy is because they've tailored their practice to what they like to do, because there's so many different options.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I think that goes a long way also. Well, I want to thank both of you for carving out time in your busy schedules. I know it was even putting this together. Laura's on call, Laura's in clinic, Ryan's on call.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for making time to jump on. I'm so proud of you. Great work. I know you're going to be great docs. I look forward to you coming back to Arizona. And I also want to tell you, I'm going to send you each a Dean's Chat cup.
Thank you.
With those late nights and early mornings, you got to have something to put the caffeinated beverages in.
I know. I'm so happy that we're going to have that. That's great.
Sounds good. And to all of our listeners out there on Spotify or Apple Podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, by all means, become a subscriber. Your fur babies are saying goodbye dogs. Too. All right.
They are. Sorry.
It's all good. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I look forward to talking more. I just need to get I've got your information. I'll put in the show notes if anybody wants to get a hold of you. Is it okay if I put your email in there?
Yeah. Anyone, feel free to reach out about literally anything. We're open books.
Oh, that's great.
So.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, cheers and see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Cheers. Bye.